Welcome to Rewatch and Rank. On this channel, we rewatch older TV shows, provide a summary and opinion on the episode before ranking each episode against each other. Today's episode is Gekkan Shoujo Nozaki-Kun Episode 4, There Are Times When Men Must Fight. The episode in a nutshell is a brief summary of what happened within this episode. So the episode starts with Sakura leaving as Mikoshiba is planning to stay overnight at Nozaki's, and Nozaki's going to give him advice on love. And then we find out that in fact he wants to play a dating game, like a dating simulation game with Nozaki and use Nozaki's insights into the female mind through that he has as a manga artist to win the games. And we then are treated to some backstory of Mikoshiba having been uncomfortable around girls, decided to try a dating sim to try to get to know them, freaking out about the fact that he has absolutely no idea what any of the girls on screen are thinking, but eventually, through perseverance, becoming very good at the games and falling so much in love with them that he then expanded into 3D figurines. So as he's playing the game, he decides that Nozaki should actually try playing the game, and Nozaki at first has his manga character Suzuki being the protagonist and ends up basically denying all of the girls because he only likes Mamiko. So then Mikoshiba decides that they need to restart again and they make Nozaki the main character. And they focus on a girl who looks like Sakura, and at first Mikoshiba thinks he picked her because she looks like Sakura, but in fact, he chose her because she's apparently the best route, according to online spoilers. So they start playing the game, and as they're playing, Mikoshiba says that they should speak to the friend because the protagonist has a friend who will help basically give them information on the game. Nozaki's a bit suspicious though because usually in manga, when there is suddenly a random friend who's, besties when you first meet them, they'll actually be the villain behind the scenes causing trouble and then say something along the lines of, "Oh, I never liked you anyways. I've been plotting this from the start." But Mikoshiba says that this is a game, not a manga. So Nozaki starts using the friend's help more and more and more and more. And by the end of the game, both Nozaki and Mikoshiba are completely won over, not by the girls in the game, but by the best friend character who's been helping them. And, they're so sad that, he gave up 3 years of his high school life to, help the protagonist. He should have enjoyed his youth too. It was so upsetting. They're crying and they decide that they're going to write him a story. And of course, who but the protagonist could be the love interest of this story? Because obviously he devoted 3 years of his life to the protagonist. So clearly they have to be friends. He was giving him tickets so he could play with girls, covering for him at like the school trip so he could play with the girls. You know, it had to be the guy. So then the next day, Sakura arrives and finds the manga that they wrote for him where the protagonist is saying, "I would pick you over all of those 12 girls because you've been here." And then, you know, Tamada being all, "Oh, I would have been satisfied just supporting you." And then she's looking at it like, what happened that we ended up with like a Shonen Ai story after this sleepover? But then the next day, Sakura, of course, is let in on the fact that it was a game, and she talks about how she's surprised that Mikoshiba could be good at the games because, he's not great with girls. And he says that he's great with girls, and she says, well, from a distance, he always calls out to them from a distance, but he's not in person. So his pride wounded, he goes and flirts with some girls. And lo and behold, he immediately, while talking to them, sends an SOS text to Sakura to save him, apologizing, giving up on his pride. Which then moves us into the second half of the episode, where Mikoshiba has been invited to a mixer where they were short one guy, so some friends or classmates invite him to go, and they boost his ego a bit, so he ends up agreeing and then immediately regrets it and is basically curled up on the floor, on like the hallway floor next to Nozaki, in despair that he has to go to this mixer he doesn't want to go to. And Nozaki decides to help him out, so they go to Nozaki's place after school, and, you know, at first, they're going to practice, and Nozaki takes on the role of one of the guys, and Mikushiba immediately falls into the female role, then realizes what he's doing and scolds Nozaki because, he needs to actually practice this year. So then Nozaki takes on the role of the girl, but as they are starting their practice, Sakura arrives and thinks that they're acting out some sort of creepy club scene, and she gets aggressive, but then she realizes that they're just practicing for a mixer. So she joins Nozaki as the female side of the table with Mikoshiba on the other side of the table. But every time Mikoshiba says something, Nozaki decides to follow the cliche and go to the bathroom and discuss with Sakura exactly what Mikoshiba just said. Sorry, I find this so funny. So they discuss what Mikoshiba had just said before coming back, which eventually, kind of annoys Mikoshiba. So then they start a free talk session where they each try to talk to Mikoshiba, but um, basically every question that Mikoshiba asks Nozaki, he kind of has like a blunt one-word answer for. So that's a failure. Then when he tries to talk to Sakura, all she wants to talk about is Nozaki, so that's a failure. Then Nozaki decides they want to go to the bathroom again to talk. And Mikoshiba has had enough and wants to join them because he feels left out that he's the only one that doesn't get to go to the bathroom to talk. So then they end up in the closet, or like in the bathroom, sorry, where they are discussing cake of all things and like the desserts that Nozaki likes to make. And Sakura's like, do we really even need to be talking about this in here? But it's amazing. In the end, though, Mikoshiba chickens out and he sends Kashima in his place to go to the mixer. And at first, his classmates are really excited because that's 3 guys, 5 girls. They'll have the advantage. But unfortunately, it's Kashima. And in this universe, girls like cheesy lines and other girls more so than they do boys. And therefore, she ends up with all the attention at the mixer while the other 3 guys basically look on in despair. Then we, of course, have our credits roll, and then the post-credit scene. Sakura and Nozaki are sitting working together at his house, and Nozaki gets a call and frantically runs around the room trying to clean it up. And Sakura asks, "Who is that? That's the kind of behavior you'd usually express for your girlfriend." And he says, "Nope, that's my editor." And honestly, I'd be less worried if it was my girlfriend, and that's where we leave that episode. Or this episode, I should say. Now that we're reminded about what happened, it's time to rank the episode. As always, we'll be ranking on our 2 lists, the mostly objective ranking list, which uses set values to determine the score, and then the personal ranking list, which is just scored on my opinion. So as for the mostly objective rank values, obviously emotion doesn't play a part in it. So first off, we have 3 points for our impactful, memorable, moment line, etc. And this is the whole tomato, Tomoda saga because honestly, when I look back at this series, whether it's as the manga or the anime, I remember this little video game playing saga where they end up falling for the best friend of the protagonist more so than the girls because he was just so helpful, so kind, so involved, doing so much for them that they're like just so touched by his dedication and everything. And therefore, I feel like it's, even though it's not a technical character because it's in the game, he's very iconic to the series and very memorable to the series. And obviously, he's very memorable because he sticks in your mind even like several manga chapters later. It's one of the scenes that sticks out. And also, in the anime, it was done wonderfully and was very funny. So, that is again worth the 3 points. followed by our multi-episode main character development, and this is where we learn about Mikashiba's hobbies, specifically his figurines and dating simulation game obsession, which is what he tends to spend his free time on. And that, of course, makes 7 as our mostly objective score, as there are no negatives, in my opinion, to this episode. That then brings our season 1 ranking so far for our mostly objective ranking to in first place, This Love ... is being turned into a shoujo manga. Say hello to the new heroine. This episode comes in third, There Are Times When Men Must Fight. And then in fourth, we have Violence versus the Prince. So for my personal ranking, now, probably from this summary, you might have realized that I found this episode really funny. I barely could keep it together and not laugh while telling the story, which is why I'll never be a comedian. I get halfway through a joke, remember the punchline, and then you just have to decode the joke through the laughter, and it very rarely lands. Either way, very, 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 very funny episode. And when you're watching a comedy series, that is what you want. You want to laugh, and you want to be laughing the whole way through. And I felt like in this episode, I was laughing the whole way through. We had our Tomoto saga, which of course was very impactful and memorable. After all, that's one of the main things that I remember from the series when I think back on whether it's the anime or even the manga. It's a scene that sticks in my mind very clearly from the series, more so than I think really almost any other scene. So obviously that has a big role in my decision to on what I rank it, but also even the second half with the oh my gosh, the back and forth of Nozaki trying to pretend to be a girl, and he puts on bunny ears just for effect to make sure that everybody knows he's playing the girl's part. And then, Sakura joining, and then the trips to the bathroom, and then Mikoshiba falling so naturally into the girl's role, which is why he is the inspiration for Mamiko, but also his eventual desire to speak in the bathroom with them because he's so distraught that they keep leaving him behind. It's amazing. It's hilarious. It's wonderful. And I honestly can't think of anything better. Like, this is probably hands down my favorite episode, which should give you insight into what I'm ranking this episode. But honestly, the best as far as the comedy goes, and even like the end with Kashima being the replacement for Mikoshiba, who ultimately chickens out, then stealing all of the girls while the guys are just there like seething. It's amazing. So now that we know that this is such an amazing episode, laughs from start to finish, doing its job as a comedic series, this episode is a 10 out of 10. And that puts it into first place, where there are times when men must fight. Second, say hello to the new heroine. Third, This Love ... is being turned into a shoujo manga. And in fourth, Violence versus the Prince. And that brings us, of course, to our series ranking so far. And on the mostly objective ranking, we so far have a score of 32 out of 120. And then on the personal ranking side, we have a score of 33 out of 120. And with that, we've now rewatched and ranked Gekkan Shoujo Nozaki-Kun, Episode 4, There Are Times When Men Must Fight. Like and subscribe if you'd like to, and I'll see you in the next episode.